on 21st June 2022. Welcome to councillors and officers and any members of the public who are joining us online. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Ratcliffe and Councillor Vachon. Any other apologies, Mr. White?
Thank you, Leader, and Councillor Daniel as well.
And Councillor Daniel, thank you. Item 2, members' declarations of interest. In accordance with the Code of Conduct, members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests, including the nature and extent of such interests they may have in any items to be considered at this meeting. Do any members have any interest? Councillor Mott.
I guess it's no secret though, Chair, in that I'm on the planning committee and the lead member for planning, which might influence. It doesn't and it shouldn't do, but.
Thank you for the declaration, Councillor Mott. Got no others. Coming forward, Mr. White. Item 3, items requiring urgent attention. I've not been given notice of any.
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. The minutes are attached, members, in the papers that have been circulated. If we could go through those for accuracy. Is there anything anyone would like to raise on page 1? Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And page 6. In which case, I take it that the committee is prepared to accept those minutes as being a true and fair reflection of the meeting, and I'd be happy to sign those, Mr. White. Okay, item 5 on the agenda is public questions. I've got no notice of any public questions, Mr. White.
That's correct, thank you, Leader.
Thank you. So item 6, the Spring Hill project. The committee is to consider a verbal update on the Spring Hill project. I wonder if I could ask Mr. Field to approach the desk and provide us with an update on where we are with this particular project.
Thank you. So an update on Spring Hill. So just to sort of set the scene again. So apologies, I'll start again. So thank you. An update on the Spring Hill project. So just to set that scene again, back in December when we received the planning permission, we completed the detailed design and went out to tender on the 25th of April with a return date of the 7th of June. Unfortunately, we didn't receive any submissions for that bid. Now, whilst that's disappointing, it wasn't entirely unexpected, primarily due to the challenges in the construction industry at the moment with Brexit and fuel prices and availability of suppliers. So what we did is we put an inquiry to come and have a contractor day as part of our tender process to try and engage with those contractors. We had 2 respond, so straight away we realised this might be a challenge. One of those contractors was only suitable to take the building down, which doesn't really help in putting something back. And the second was a local contractor who was interested. However, I think 2 things happened really. The larger contractors are currently focusing on their current projects, obviously fighting for programme and supply. The smaller contractors are nervous about spending money to bid for a project which they may not win, which is a challenging project, let's be honest. So whilst disappointing, we finished that procurement process and not all was lost. So by doing that, it does open some more windows. So the recommendation is let's not give up here. This is a really exciting project and really important to carry on with. And our proposal is that we will look at going down a framework route. Now the question might be, why didn't we do that to start with? We didn't do that to start with because we wanted to try and have the project open to all size of contractors, so large, small, whoever had the ability to do it. Clearly that window hasn't been successful. So we'd like to go down a framework route, which is similar to other projects that we've done. That limits your contractors straight away. At the moment, it's about trying to engage with someone who wants to work with us to build this project. So we're looking at the Southern Contractors Framework, which is one that we've used. We've spoken to them. The process would be as follows. We'd go for an expression of interest. So here's our project, here's our budget. And that would be a quick turnaround. They go out to their market, would get some responses, yes or no. Hopefully, that would be a yes, because people are doing that off a smaller list, so they know they're one of 3 or one of 4 rather than one of X. And we then do a 2-stage tender. So the first stage would be based upon some rates and the quality questions. So we get the right contractor on board. And then part 2 is the price negotiation. Now, whilst that doesn't put us quite in the driving seat as we would like, it does give us the opportunity to get this project off the ground and resolve some of the outstanding items that really need that contractor input. Now, we can try and sort everything out around highways, but it really needs that contractor elsewhere. We're guessing a bit. So that's the proposal. We've had the confirmation from the framework yesterday about what part 1 is, so I can start to write that. But really, it's not, it's disappointing, but this is a challenging project. It's been born throughout COVID. It started on COVID. It's going to end, maybe hopefully at the end of COVID. So I think it's still positive and we can still get there. But I think we need to explore every avenue before we simply go, it's too difficult, we can't do it. I don't think that would be right for anyone. So that's really where we are. So hopefully, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Spear. I certainly understand from what I've heard within the construction industry just the difficulties there are, so it's not necessarily a surprise. But I do agree that we want to explore every possibility of getting this project up and running. Members, any questions for Mr. Field, Mr. Brooks, or Mr. Watton? Chris, sorry, Councillor Edmonds.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Dan, for that update. Yeah, very challenging. You mentioned budget. I guess the question in my mind is viability, given the situation we're in, rising cost, material cost, etc. Are we confident of being able to bring it in within budget, or is that budget got to be reviewed? How feasible is it from a financial perspective?
Thank you, Councillor Edmonds. That's a very challenging question, but you are correct. Basically, we don't know. That's why we need to get someone at least in the seat to discuss. But the budget that we would set in the expression of interest would be the budget that we know, if delivered on, would be viable. But then if the contractors come back and say, at this moment, that's not achievable, then we can sit down again and review the steps. What we don't want to do is obviously go all the way through the process and they go, it's going to cost you X, and we go, not doing that, and we've wasted a lot of our time. So by putting a budget into the expression of interest that we know is viable, it will then tell us whether the market's viable or whether now is the right time to deliver that project. Clearly, at some point, there's a cut-off. So am I confident? I'm not sure, if I'm honest. I think we just need to get out into that market again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Cheadle.
Is there a cost of delay?
I guess the cost of delay is the cost of why we're trying to do this project for the people that need it, but not a cost.
I mean, is there a sort of a running cost of this project?
No, because the commission that we've got with our consultants has basically ended at this point. So the next part of the pushing it forward would be officers' time as opposed to consultants.
Yes, Mr. Brooke.
Give me just that point on the viability. In parallel to this, and obviously Dan's team and the work will clarify the construction costs, but in parallel we're reviewing the cost avoidance. So this model is based on 2 things. One is we receive an amount of money and we accommodate people for a temporary period of time, but we also have to pay out at the moment. Those costs are obviously going up. So it's actually quite important to understand all sides of the viability. And so that when we bring you back something subject to the work that Dan's doing, you will see the full cost avoidance plus the income we derive from actually doing the do, plus the construction costs and obviously changes in borrowing rates. So you'll get the full picture, which hopefully will answer your question, Councillor Evans.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Evans.
Well, so perhaps then the cost to delay as the anticipated continued increase in material cost, labour cost, interest rates, etc. So there could be a cost in delay. But one could argue perhaps we've already seen that in the length of time it's taken to bring the proposer to this stage. That's not a criticism. It's just reflects the difficulty in bringing forward this project.
Yeah, that's correct. I think an opposite, it might start to come down the other side, hopefully. So it is, yeah, it's a challenge.
Thank you. Yes, I guess inflation is going to be that cost, but inflation may be offset slightly by the other side of the equation of the costs that we will incur in continuing to keep people in unsuitable accommodation. Councillor Crozier.
Thank you. I think we also have another cost, and the cost is in providing third-party accommodation. These rates have been rising rapidly over the last 2 years, so that can be pushed into the equation, which would help the costings. I think as soon as we can find a suitable contractor, as long as they've got a record, we should be negotiating hard with them. We would like to tie contractors down, but there are other methods of tying them down. I won't go any further.
Thanks, Councillor Crozier.
Well, have we got anybody? I can't securely indicate the mob gov. Have we got anybody in the building?
We'll find out for you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a very good point, actually, Councillor Crozier, that the continuing cost of the other accommodation has obviously got to be factored in, and the potential benefits that we can accrue from that. So, thank you. Any other questions, members? No more questions. Mr. White, this is just for us noting, isn't it? So we've noted that, and thank you very much, Mr. Field. Thank you to your team and everybody else for answering our questions. We can move on then, members, to item 7, which is an update regarding, or a report regarding our Levelling Up Fund Mark II bid. And I'm going to ask Mr. Shears if I can to come forward and join Mr. Brooke and present this particular item. So, Mr. Shears, to you, and Mr. Brooke.
Maybe if I start and then if it gets difficult, I'll look to my right. Thank you, members, for considering this. We have discussed the Levelling Up Fund before at this committee, and it's previously been approved to submit a bid, which is excellent. Since then to now, we've been working with Devon County Council to get a detailed understanding of the costings. That's still ongoing, but they are now sort of crystallising. And as a result of that, and in fairness, previous conversations and commitments working, through our partners with Devon, it's become apparent that there is a need for match funding. That match funding element is based on a 10% ratio for Levelling Up Fund bids. So Devon County Council have a cabinet approval for £1.2 million, which gives a window of £12 million in total. Current costs of the proposals are in the sort of 13.2 million ballpark, leaving us a gap of £120,000 worth of seed funding or match funding from us to get us the complete budgeted window. You have to meet your 10% requirement. It's a pass-fail question. So we're in a position where we're in an enviable position where we have a more robust response to Levelling Up Fund bid. We've taken on board all of the feedback we had last time from round 1. That feedback, if you recall, was about strengthening some of the cycling and active travel elements, integrating it into Oakhampton, things that we absolutely stand for, things that are embedded in our corporate strategy, things we would want to be doing anyway. And we have an aligned opportunity here to build that into active travel is one of the 4 pillars of our UK SPF strategy, which remains to be bid for, but these two government opportunities completely align around active travel and supporting community vote Campton, embedding into engaging. So our plan here is to ensure both bids speak to each other, hope for success with both, and ensure therefore that the government money goes as far as it can. But obviously we must also think about what happens if one or other is not successful. So in the scenario where Levelling Up Fund is successful and we can deliver that new train station, but our UK SPF funding either has some strings attached to it that require it to be used in a different way or different amounts of it, or we don't get any of it, we need to think about how we might fund that match funding. So the proposal on before you is that would come from the business rates retention reserve, which can afford it. So what you're being asked to consider is £120,000 worth of funding, hopefully aligned to UK SPF, either in full or part for active travel, but the possibility of £120,000 coming from our reserves to support this huge investment in our community. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Members, any questions at this stage? I know we've had discussions about this on many occasions, and I think we've indicated that we would be minded to support this process as far as we can. But Councillor Cheadle.
Yeah, I'm totally in support of it. The question really is, I think I understand it, is that the commitment we would make is dependent on the bid being successful. So we just don't put our money in a way that we can't get it back, as it were, if the bid doesn't go through. I'm right in thinking that's the way it is.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the only risk, well, there's no risk on us if we get the bid, or if we're successful with the bid, we put our Tuppence in as well, and the thing goes ahead. If we don't get the bid, we keep our Tuppence where it was.
I'm happy with that. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Edmonds.
Chris, you mentioned if we get that money on the UK, the Shared Prosperity Fund, but that's been allocated to West Ham, as I understand it. It's in the pot. It's just a case of getting it out. The money is there. So surely we'll be able, if the first application isn't quite what they look for, have we got the opportunity to go back and amend it till eventually the money is released? Or is there still the chance of someone saying no?
It's a bit foggy, Councillor Edmonds. So I can give you clarity that there's one window and one opportunity. So we have to get it right. We have to present well thought through, structured investment plans. I have pushed all the MPs I've spoken to in the last few weeks on this exact question because I would also like some clarity, and they have none either. So you're right, it is allocated. I think it would be foolish of us to assume it is 100% ours and in the bag. I think we have to pull out all the stops and ensure our investment plans are as supported and thought through and considered and aligned to government strategy and our own as possible. And I think that gives us the best chance of success. Sorry, that's not.
I'm confident. I'm very confident that the plan is sound, but it was just that sort of confusion about, well, if the money's allocated, where's the issue? But yeah, I see where you're coming from. We are in medium need priority 2. How many priority need areas are there?
So there's the categories 1 through 3. All I can observe is that in round 1 for both the renewal fund and LUF round 1, the priorities clearly didn't have as much influence on the outcomes as you might have thought. Whether or not that changes here, I don't suppose it will. I think it's politics, if I can be honest.
Yeah, that was the thinking behind my question, is how disadvantaged are we by being in priority need area 2 rather than being in 1? And if there's 5 or 6, we're still reasonably well up the pecking order.
I think we're in a good place from a priority perspective. So it's a legitimate expectation that our bid will be taken seriously and considered. We have something for the MPs to get behind. We are not in 3, we're in 2. So that's an excellent starting point. But it was the case that areas that were not in any priority also succeeded where we failed in the round 1. So evidence suggests that it is one of the many factors that will be considered, but not perhaps the most overriding factor.
I'm encouraged by that. Thank you. And I fully support the bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I bring Mr. Bates in, please?
Thanks. Leader, I think the question you posed, Councillor Edmonds, is a very good one. I think the best way I can add to what Chris has said is I'm utterly confident in the quality of the thinking that's gone in from our perspective in terms of how we should utilise the UK SBF funding. The critical decision will come down to the extent to which it matches the government's requirements in its own terms for the use of this money. And of course, it will be a political decision ultimately. We've not been through this process before. It is the first time it's been allocated in this way. So it's uncharted waters. But what I'm confident about is we will not fail through lack of planning and thinking on our part. If we don't succeed, I think it'll be much more likely that it will be to do with misalignment with government expectations or with misalignment with government political ambition. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bates. It is good that we're in this position, that we're able to bid for this money compared to the old EU sort of funds where we had, as far as I'm concerned, no input at all. So it's a really good opportunity that we're in this position that we can actually bid for this money. So yeah, I'm all in favour, and good luck with the bid.
Questions, members?
That's it.
In which case, I'd like to propose the recommendation as shown in the report. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Cheadle. Members, any debate on this issue? In which case, I think that is taken as our continued support for this process. So good luck with the good luck with the proposal, and we're going to have a vote on that. So all in favour?
Thank you, Leader. That's 6 unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, and members. That concludes the subject of the meeting this morning. So thank you all very much for your attendance and your contribution, and that's all for now.
Thank you, Chair.
Still online.
Yeah, I'll just tell Chris to come and stop it. He's come in.
Yeah.
Crack on. Reach previously.
Well, we're just sort of here and running around. We all
Not yet.
Still
Not yet.
there.
We're still on
live.
air at the moment.
all right. Okay, I'll hang fire.